People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. As usual, it's always appreciative, and I appreciate all the support you lot give me. Obviously, with the Tuesday and Friday podcast, obviously make sure you're following on Spotify, Apple, subscribing on YouTube for you freeloaders. Apologies if you don't already. On that, obviously make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on Twitch, Deluded Gooner. Make sure you're following on all the Instas and that. One love to everybody that all the other socials. One love to everybody who's purchasing their DG merch and things like that. All information and all informations are in the description, or if you're on YouTube, they should be in the live chat or something of some sort, or in the description as well. Apologies, people. I promise you I've got way more energy. It's very early in the morning. It's 5:30 at this moment in time. I've got a lot of things to do, so I need to make this thing happen. Now, I hope everybody's doing well and safe. And like I said, welcome back to another edition of the Deluded Podcast, the DG Podcast, the Really and Truly Podcast. You lot make this what it is, and it's actually one of my favourite pieces of content that I do to make, because I know sadly we have to speak about my club, but we speak more about general stuff. So what other things can I say, people? Welcome to the first podcast of the season. Obviously, game week 1 is gone. There's 37 more to go. So if you've won, it's important to not get complacent. If you've lost, forgive yourself, learn your lessons and apply yourself. I defo hope Arsenal are, because it's Armageddon settings in my opinion. You know, we're dining in hell. For me, I don't know, going into this season, it's not like it's not like the fixture calendar, comes out a week before the game. So we know who we're playing. We know the run of games. We know what happened with Arsenal last season. We know we need signings, we need ingoings, we need outgoings. But for me, for the people that are going to be there, for the culture stuff that are going to be there, I would have loved to have seen a change in mentality, a change in desire. Because for me, well, not even for me, last season we finished 8th again. Everyone should stand up to be counted. Forget the club, forget the fans, forget the gaffer. For me, personally, if I'm a player, whether I'm from this country or wherever, and I'm playing for Arsenal, I don't want to be, when I think of Arsenal, historically, you think of invincible, winning through harmony, winning, greatness, innovation with Arsene Wenger and, the many great players and people that have walked through the doors. Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, so good I have to say it twice, Arsene Wenger, George Graham, David Dean, all of these, we can keep going. When you think of Arsenal right now, you don't think of any of the owners or advisors or things on that level. You definitely don't think with the players. I'm not asking these players to be the invincibles. I'm asking for a change in mentality. I'm asking for accountability, because do you not feel shame? I know not one man can change it, but do you not feel embarrassment being part of, because you are part of a consistent Arsenal side, consistently reactive, consistently inconsistent, consistently failing. You are part of a groundbreaking team. It's just not the records being smashed for great reasons. You're part of an Arsenal team that can't score, can't create, can't hold leads, can't win. Everybody fancies because you look like little boys in a boxing or fighting match with grown men, not ready for this thing. And for me, do you not feel embarrassed? Is it not embarrassing? Like, you're part of groundbreaking new statistics. Some of you have been part of the first Arsenal team to crash out in Europe in 20 plus years, finish 8th, all other madnesses. And I personally don't like embarrassment. I would feel embarrassed that my name is attached to this. Like, years from now, when man are looking back on Premier League years, people are just going to remember your names. And I feel sorry for the Sakas, the Smith Rowes, the Tierney's, couple of the incomings, to be fair with you, because they're involved in a mess. And at Arsenal, for me anyways, it's the players that have been here for 2 minutes, whether they've come through the academy or recently been bought. Tierney ain't been here that long. Gabriel's not been here that long. Partey's not been here that long. I give a blight to the Lokongas, the Ben Whites, and all the obvious recruitments this summer. But obviously, some of them are not caught up to task. And it's like, we're not built. I don't know what we tried to delude ourselves with going into the start of the season, because we didn't look ready. You didn't match the energy of the 12th man with Brentford for beyond everything. And to be fair, I don't think Brentford are going to have many easier games than that game they played against Arsenal. Do not get it twisted. As I said in the review at the time, I admire Brentford. I think they pressed well. Ivan Toney did a number, and Babu done a number. Canos did a number. The front line pressed very well. Everyone won their individual battles. There was a unit. There was galvanisation. They got forward. They clearly worked on something. Arsenal's a very naive side. Their team that's just been promoted from the Championship. Street smart, naive. You can see how we can get hoodwinked and shortchanged. It's like in ends when, you know, some bookie people try to offer you a phone, and then, you know, they on the street on a random one. If you're from London, you know what I mean. And you buy the phone, it ends up being some water in it and things. This is real stories because it has happened to folks. You know, just con men and getting swindled. You know, that's all I think they had to do. You could see what Brentford were on. With respect, they're not. It's the worst Arsenal team, but they're not gonna. Brentford can play ball, but they're not gonna try and outball us. That's not their strength. They won their individual battles. They, you know, they listened to their game plan. They played on the 12th man. You know, clearly they knew Arsenal was frail defensively because, you know, you saw the number of long throws that were going into the box. Ethan Pinnock and then Janssen. I'm not gonna go over the goals because the goals Arsenal conceded, they have no place on Sunday League at Hackney Marshes or Enfield Playing Fields or Market Road, let alone at Brentford, the new home of a Premier League of a Premier League club. It don't make no sense. We couldn't match them, you know, and that's the problem with Arsenal. You know, the 12th man with Brentford were fantastic. The gaffer was fantastic. You know, everyone was fantastic. We couldn't match it. You know. The minimum requirement is maximum effort, and, you know, I'm not going to say they didn't work hard, but I didn't see. I felt sorry for the young players. It's a good test for Balogun, etc. physically, but the senior players were nowhere to be seen. You know, Marie and Leno are shaky. Chambers was shaky. I tell you, lot, these are not strong foundations. You lot gas Marie to the high heavens. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's limited. When it's crunch time, you can't rely on these, man. I tell you, lot, you need a right back. And I know some of you agree, but some of you are like, Chambers can do it for 38 games. No, he can't. He can do a job, but there'll be games where he evidently looks like a centre half at right back. Ben White, I feel sorry for him. He's part of a mess. You know, he's terrible defensively on the night, but he's part of a mess. You know, you look to your left, you've got Marie behind you, you've got Leno who gives no real confidence, and you've got Chambers. You know, that again, I've tactically reviewed the game and all of these sort of things, so you lot can go back, but the only word I can say to put it nicely is just naiveties. And what kills me the most is take nothing away from Brentford, but it's like when Arsenal lose, it's you find yourself just speaking a lot about self-imploding. Like, we self-imploded. Again, take nothing away from Brentford, but what really annoys me as an Arsenal fan, you know, I say it all the time, I don't like losing. But if we could sit here and say Brentford played us off the park, they showed us why they got promoted, what can you say? You lost to the better individuals. And I'm not taking anything away from Brentford. I just feel we're handing games to them. You know, they exploited cheap mistakes. Like I said at the time of my review, genuinely, I don't think that kit man has to wash them kits because they didn't have to work. Put them, hang them back up, and they could play with them next week. You know, I don't think there's any mud. I don't think any sweat was drawn. You know, I don't think anything. They should have handed. They would have been the perfect kits to give to them Brentford fans and little kids in the ground because they're free from sweat and whatever. So congratulations to Brentford. They worked for it. They deserved it. It was a fantastic moment for the club. But obviously, there's 37 other games, so there's a lot to be said for Arsenal. It doesn't get any easier, does it? You cannot beat the playoff champions. How are you going to beat the European champions? Then how are you going to beat the domestic champions? That's what you've got. Then after that, you've got a promoted side in Norwich. Forgive me if I'm wrong. They played very well against Liverpool. Scoreline or not, they actually played better football based on that game than not. They actually had a go against Liverpool, where we won't have a goal, lose by that same scoreline and look for excuses. We've got the North London derby, and if that was played tomorrow, much like when we played them in pre-season, we're done at it, you know. So it's not a good start to the season from an Arsenal perspective, and you know, players had their heads buried in the sand. Nobody looked like they came here on a mission or really understanding just how far behind Arsenal are, the journey Arsenal need to go on, and the pace Arsenal need to go on. If we're in a tunnel, you know, we ain't got a flashlight, but we can see light at the end of the tunnel. You lot have to want to move along that path. Couple people are turning back. Certain men are scared, so they're just sitting down. People are turning crazy because they've seen darkness for so long. Certain men just don't know what the hell's going on. Either way, it's fractured. Obviously, our case wasn't helped with the missings of Aubameyang and Lacazette, but let's be real with ourselves. I definitely feel they would have helped in that game. We could have done with Aubameyang's pace and Lacazette's physicalness, but there's times where they've been on the pitch together, or they've been on the pitch and the same results happen. And I just feel, as football fans, more so as Arsenal fans, it's always the individuals that are not involved that are the ones that are the messiahs. I'm not trying to get at them. We're wishing whatever Aubameyang and Lacazette are going through, and anyone else, I'm wishing them a speedy recovery. Obviously, as I said, you know, Arsenal's loss is Brentford's game. What more can you ask for? You know, Arsenal picked up where they left off in the negative sense. Brentford picked up where they left off at the end of their last season. You know, as I said, they played very well. They scored 2 goals. I would dare to imagine, most importantly for that gaffer, away from the 3 points and the win and doing it in front of their fans, man's kept a clean sheet. There's something to build upon there. This is what I'm saying. The people are walking away with a clean sheet. You've got a £70 million man. You've got Saka off the bench. You've got Smith Rowe there. You've got this young striker Balogun. You've got Tierney bombing down the left-hand side. How you have not asked any real questions of that team, I don't know. Or any sustained pressure, I don't know. You're on it for 10 minutes, the first 10, and it's like Brentford clock. These men are shit, Pardon my language. Let's get on to them. So, yeah, man, enough with being an Arsenal fan and the therapy with that, innit? I had to start with that. Let's get into better news. If you're a Man United fan, you're laughing. You're laughing because you started the season well. You're laughing because Pogba's putting egg on faces and Souness just won't shut up about him. You're laughing because, again, you got a rivalry against Leeds. Manchester United 5, Leeds 1. I mean, it was a good start to the Premier League first game week. I feel all the games were good. When I remove my Arsenal emotion, maybe not from an Arsenal perspective, but Brentford versus Arsenal must have been a decent watch. And I feel Man United picked up where they left off. The only criticism you could say with Man United is take nothing away from the only Arsenal-related player that's done anything this week. Take nothing away from Luke Ayling's strike. What a goal that was from him. But no clean sheet. And when you're scoring 5, you should. Bruno Fernandes, I still think there's a lot of development to do because if he's not scoring, he's not necessarily playing well. As you saw with the Euros, certain things you get away with in the Prem, you can't get away with in Champions League or Europe and all these elite levels. So I do think Bruno needs to offer a bit more away from just scoring, but I mean, he's fantastic at what he does, and love for making sure my FPL side gets off to a flying start. I mean, Bruno's a joke of a footballer. I can't understand some of the slander he gets. I do think his IQ, it's not that it's low, it's just I do think he loses the ball a lot. I do think he unbalances some midfields like you see with Portugal. I actually feel United's midfield potentially, they found balance with Pogba coming off the flanks and Bruno there, but there could be better balance found, and I'm sure Man United fans would like to upgrade on either one or both of the Fred and McTominay pivot behind Bruno. It worked, innit? Pogba 4 assists, shuts people up. I mean, he's one off Williams/Smith Rowe for last season, which further highlights the lack of creativity or lack of emphasis on creating, finishing, or just attempting to score chances at Arsenal. But, Pogba, 4 assists, Bruno Fernandes hat-trick, lovely goals as well, man. I know he scored a couple of lovely ones, but I think the one where, did Pogba play? I can't even remember, but the ball over the top, he's made a run and he's absolutely smashed it. He deserved his hat-trick. For me personally, I said at the time, it's unfortunate when Pogba gets 4 assists and, Jadon Sancho's made his debut and Bruno's got a hat-trick. I felt Greenwood away. I can't really say he's man of the match because them lot did a madness, but I feel from start to finish he was good through that middle. I think he should have had an assist for Pogba. Pogba should have been on the score sheet. Between him and myself, Stephen Birchright with some tap-ins. I scored for my team on the weekend, so at least I did a thing. But I feel Greenwood was very good in what he did. I actually feel Wan-Bissaka was good going forward. Literally, he looked like he had the same tape and boots as Pogba, and it just looked like whatever Pogba was on, Wan-Bissaka just said, F it, I'm on this as well. Obviously, United and Jadon came off the bench. Nothing of anything in that performance. He weren't on long enough. Rafael Varane was announced and whatnot, and you saw him get a standing ovation. It was a good game from United. I feel Leeds, they were so naive. That midfield, I thought someone was going to get, Rodrigo was going to, not that he's playing bad, but I thought he's going to get clipped in the first half because, United were quality. They attacked with intent. They were good defensively. They did their thing. But from a Leeds perspective, they look so naive. The amount of balls they were losing in the middle, couple times. Even Rafinha, he should have scored, but there was one chance. He's on the right wing. He's played a pass back. And then I think, I can't remember, it might have been Greenwood. He's pressed it and it's hit the Leeds man. It's almost trickled on under Millier. Millier's distribution, he's a young man, he's a bit shaky. I think Leeds were a bit still in holiday camp, and at times I genuinely thought it was going to be more than 5-1 just because United are hungry lions and you lot are wounded, slaughtered animals right now. And United are eating, Pogba and Bruno have made sure the fantasy leagues out there are eating. Greenwood has said, yo, listen, I'm trying to go World Cup. You lot know my opinions on Greenwood, I think Greenwood should have went to the Euros regardless of that form. For me, Greenwood, Saka, Foden, I'm missing out a couple names, but these sort of guys are the guys you've got to build around, and I think Greenwood is going to show that. So interested to see him get a couple of more opportunities playing through the middle, and I really like how he adapted with it because obviously he's not physically stronger than them Leeds, man. He put himself about, but he outsmarted them. He worked the channels, he dropped in, he looked for the 1-2s. When he could dribble, he dribbled. Mason Greenwood's a baller, man. He can play everywhere. Obviously, you want to see him define himself in a couple of years, but I don't think it's that deep because You know, you look at Foden. Foden can play deep lying, Cam. You know, as a sit, probably as an 8, as a 10. In a City team, he probably played the holding role because there's not probably too much defending, and obviously he can play off the flanks. And you know, Foden's one of them guys that quote unquote probably plays a false 9 under Pep. So I don't think Greenwood needs to nail down a position yet. I think there's education that can be done behind the striker, on the left, on the right. For me, his most education will be served in a position I see him playing in the future, which is through the middle. And I think it was a good lesson for him with Leeds, because it's like he tried with his back to goal and then he clocked that's not the thing. As I said, the main thing for me is I couldn't understand how many passes. Like, Leeds were quite careless with the ball, and I genuinely think Leeds are lucky United didn't do what they did to Southampton, or was it Southampton last year against these men, or what Leicester did, or was it both of them? I don't even know. But terrific performance from Man United. You start as you mean to go on. For me, I don't know if Man United can sustain a title challenge, but you have to throw them into that. You know, again, for me, you can't really look past City. I think Chelsea might do a thing. I think Chelsea, I'll kind of cover Chelsea in a bit, but I think, you know, they can be, in comparison to them winning the league, I think they can be their worst enemies. The same go for United. You know, you have to look at the manager. He finished second, but in comparison to the other guys, I don't think he can talk to them. Obviously, there was a lot of things set up for United in this game. So, but I still think they have to. You know, you've got Pogba, who's an inexpensive player. Wan-Bissaka, Jadon Sancho's coming in. He did cost a pretty penny. Varane's there now. You've got mentality. You know, I think United need to challenge for the league. I didn't say they should win it. I think they should challenge. And I know they finished second last year, and I know real United fans would agree, you know, second, it's not that it was a false image, because other people were messing about and they exploited it, but they probably punching to get second, you know. I'll probably want, and I'm sure they'd agree with that. So I expect to see a more consistent Man United and stuff, you know. All United need to do is start games like they did in that. It's not easy, it's 38 games, but one of United's problem was keeping clean sheets, conceding cheap goals. They would always concede cheap goals unnecessarily, especially sometimes at the start of games. If they cut that out, then the world's your oyster, and it probably, do you know what, they probably will fall short. I don't really believe in their midfield options, specifically the people who play in the roles of Fred and Scott McTominay, even though McTominay was good against Leeds. Couple of injuries, United might be in trouble, but you know, their firepower, you can't not say they're not in a title race. Speaking of title races, commiserations to Patrick Vieira, because he lost his first game in charge in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. You know, Palace, you know, for me, at this moment in time, things can change. I think Palace are in a relegation battle. I think Southampton, depending on if their strikers are able to be clinical, could find themselves in such. Obviously, you can't look past, you know, Watford, Brentford. Who else got promoted? Watford, Brentford. I'll get it in a sec. It's missing. Watford, Brentford, Norwich. They're all going to have to be involved in that. So it is what it is. You know, obviously, against Chelsea, Chelsea's a team I think should be challenging for the league. The only problem I see with Chelsea is kind of what you saw in the Super Cup, how they've got great players. With Lukaku, they're going to be great players. But sometimes I don't feel they kill games off when they can. And like you see with the Villarreal one, you can claw back into it. If Villarreal's a league game, Chelsea had a lot of dominance, but it would have been a point. I think these are the things Chelsea need to go into. But I can't look at... I think Chelsea are going to challenge for the league. And they can only them... will be the reasons they're not, because they've got a fantastic manager, they've got a good system, players understand it. You know, Lukaku's going to score goals, whatever you say about him. That's an evident area Chelsea failed in. You know, obviously injuries, you know, plan Bs, all of these things will become more prevalent as we go on in the season. But I think Chelsea could do a thing. And, you know, it was a bit of pre-season vibes against Palace, if I'm going to be honest with you. You didn't have to be at much. Shout to young Chalobah for scoring. Fantastic moment for him. Touching moment, seeing him drop to his knees as well. And it's been a fantastic couple of weeks/months. Probably was going to leave permanently or on loan. You know, showing his manager in pre-season there's a role for me, taking his chances, you know, look good in the Super Cup, look good against Palace, has looked good all pre-season, and he gives them a fantastic opportunity. He can play in midfield, where I'm sure he played large portions last season on loan, can play at centre-half, homegrown talent. Who knows if he makes it there long-term or not, but, you know, it's a good look for him. It's a very good look, and it was a touching moment for him to score, man. Alonso scored an even better goal. That was a fantastic goal from him. Pulisic obviously wrapped it up in the second half, but 3-0, 3 points, clean sheet. You know, no significant injuries, no problems. You know, Chelsea will be welcoming back. Well, he's actually returned to the club. They'll obviously be welcoming back Lukaku for the Arsenal clash, and obviously you've got Kante back. So yeah, pray for Arsenal, people. It's gonna be peak next week, in my humble opinion, and we'll talk about that stuff on Friday as we prepare for the next week, people. So that's that where Chelsea are concerned. Leicester versus Wolves. Obviously, Wolves didn't really take any of their chances. I'm sure they had double figures for shots. I think they probably had more shots than Leicester, but Leicester did what they needed to do. You know, it's a fantastic... I don't know what's better, the assist or the finish, you know. Acrobatic finish from Vardy. In fact, that's not the right word. Instinctive finish. Get across the near post, get something on it, and you might score. Tight angle, but that's what Jamie Vardy does. Very street smart, very good striker, Premier League legend. He's shown it in it. Typical Jamie Vardy finish. Fantastic assist by Pereira. Good bit of skill. Lovely cross. It's a fantastic moment. That's enough for Leicester to get the 3 points. You know, that was 4 or 5 minutes before half time. So yeah, Leicester walk away in the Midlands derby. Leicester 1, Wolves 0. The post Nuno Espirito Santo season don't look too good right now. Obviously as well, Adama Traore and M Product are one of the worst marriages in hell. They got a divorce a long time ago, and you know, Bergwijn and Pogba get away with theirs because their teams won. But I mean, my word, what a miss from Adama. There was a lot of misses, criminal misses, I'm not gonna lie, across the Premier League across the Premier League weeks. I actually forgot Spurs played City, and you know, I want to forget because Arsenal didn't win. But I mean, you've got to give credit to Spurs. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Manchester City, apologies, 0. Obviously, time will tell if that's, you know, a managerial bounce or whatever. But you have to give credit to Spurs. First things first. They matched City at what they could have. They had no interest in trying to outpass City because they can't do that. They were rigid defensively. They were stubborn to break down. They rid their luck at times, but you know, they defended well. They didn't give too much centrally. You know, on the counter attack / down the sides is where Spurs have to exploit City, and I think they did that very well. On the counter, they looked like City could have scored, but they looked like they could have scored a couple. Fantastic goal from Son. Terrible defending, I must say, in the build up to Son's goal. But you know, Spurs deserve their points. Who needs Harry Kane? I hope Spurs fans are saying that, which I have seen some, as you would expect, which they clearly do need him. Like I said, I don't know if it's managerial bounce, the tactics, just they wanted it more. I think regardless, you have to give Spurs their credit. They did what they needed to do. For me, crucially, they matched City in everything. You know, they tried to counter-attack. And City apart, I'm not going to lie, for about the opening 20 minutes, it looked like City, I won't say run riot, but Spurs were probably respecting them a bit too much. And then, you know, it's where it is. And I think it's fantastic to have the fans back, because I look at Brentford, Arsenal couldn't cope with the fans, and I think City kind of struggled with the Spurs fans as much as it was a technical ability thing. Man to a man, Spurs were good, man, I can't lie. I think Tanganga, my man of the match, he held it up very well. You know, I actually think their centre-halves did well. Obviously, Son scored the goal. Dele Alli was decent. I don't know if Skip's levels, but I think he put a shift in. Bergwijn put a shift in. Moura put a shift in. I think the front three especially, they put a serious shift in, you know, man to a man. For City, clearly, in my opinion, games like that, you need a striker in it. Grealish was decent, but obviously it wasn't 100 million decent. Sterling was wishy-washy. Mahrez probably should have scored. Gundogan's got a little knock and whatnot. Ake's shaky, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if he's anything more than a squad player. I don't even know if he should still be at City. Mendy shit, I can't lie to you, pardon my language. Mendy's not good enough, I'm sorry. You can't be a team trying to get Champions League trophies and do what City's doing and have Mendy at left back. Is criminal. It's appalling. It's an absolute disgrace. I actually think Ferran Torres looked all right in that middle row. He looks like he's getting stronger, but they need a striker, man. Sometimes you can't reinvent history, and you know, you got to be careful of writing off City, because people said they were this, that and the other. Pep Guardiola finished this, that and the third, and then, you know, did they not win the Carling Cup? They got to a Champions League final, and obviously they won the league. And, you know, a lot of conclusions. Definitely, I'm hoping as an Arsenal fan, I can't draw too many conclusions from the first week of the season, but it don't, you know, certain things were not looking good and certain teams are looking better. Now, like I said, there was a lot of good games. Brentford versus Arsenal, sadly, you know. Spurs won. Manchester City, apologies, I keep saying United. Obviously, we all know which Manchester club was serious first. You know, the City Spurs game was good. Man United Leeds was good. Brentford Arsenal sadly was good. There were some very entertaining matches. Liverpool 3, Norwich 0. You also had, what's the other one? West Ham United as well. But before that, I mentioned Liverpool first. Mo Salah, he looked serious, man. He got an assist. I'm not going to lie. That was one booked assist. It looked like a first touch. You know, Mo Salah got on the score sheet, got an assist. Yota got his first goal of the season. Super sub Bobby Firmino got on the score sheet. You know, commiserations to Norwich. I think Norwich, it was just a quality thing. I think for large periods of the first half and actually the game, I think they held it up. They remained compact. They actually tried to play football. You know, their left back played some good knocks. Rasika looked good. You know, I think they Cantwell did all right. I think they tried to match Liverpool. I think they made it as difficult as they could, you know, despite the fact that they've lost 3-0. You know, I don't think you can say much. Obviously, you lose 3-0, it's always disappointment. I think they handed them goals to them and showed their abilities. But, you know, Liverpool really had to dig deep and really find that. Towards the end, obviously, it got a bit exhibition match for Liverpool. There were some cute touches. They was enjoying themselves. But I look at when Arsenal lost at home by this exact scoreline last season. If I was Norwich, I'd be happy with, as much as you can be. I'd be happy with that performance. As an Arsenal fan, I'm not happy with mine because Norwich tried to win. I think Norwich tried to match Liverpool. They tried to focus on what Liverpool could do. They just didn't think just because we've been promoted and Liverpool are, you know, not too long ago champions of this league, we're going to respect them. They had that healthy respect for them, but they tried to play ball and knock it on the counter and stuff like that. And that, to Miskas had a good game for Liverpool, but the last 20 in the first half or so, he's kind of struggling. You can see Milner give him a clap round the head when he's losing the ball cheaply. You know, there wasn't a defeative mindset from Norwich. Ultimately, they just came up short, really and truly. And, you know, we all know what we're getting from Norwich. They play decent football, but whether they can stay up is another thing. You know, Billy Gilmore was decent in possession. I felt Rasika had some good flicks. I think their left back, is it Giannoulis? He looked decent. No clue where they bought him, but he looks like a very attacking fullback. Max Aarons, I can't lie, I think he's overrated. I don't think he's as good as people make out, but I'd still love him at Arsenal and I still think he's decent. The question is for Norwich, what we thought last year is that, you know, while it's commendable if you play a certain way, you need to be able to stay in the division. So, yeah, man, short and sweet. Liverpool 3, Norwich 0. Very good game. Newcastle 2, West Ham United 4-4 to West Ham, people. What a game that was. Obviously, West Ham fought back. You know, Wilson, 5 minutes in, gave Newcastle United the lead. Before, obviously, Cresswell for West Ham United equalised. Murphy, who I believe, if I remember correctly, gave away a penalty, patterned up. Then, obviously, Benrahma, Antonio and Souček did what they needed to do, and obviously pattern up the game for Newcastle. It was a fantastic game. It was a good game for me to watch, really is truly, from the opening day of the season, people. And you look at it, West Ham have scored more goals in that game than they did in their previous 7 matchday Premier League games combined, people. Apparently there's been 22 goals scored in Premier League matches between Newcastle and West Ham since Steve Bruce took over from the Magpies. So yeah, it's crazy. Steve Bruce, that was his 23rd season as a manager, and that was the first time on his on the opening day his side has conceded 4+ goals on the opening day of the season, people. And that was the first time for Newcastle since 2013-14 where Manchester City done the same. They also did such in 1959-60 where Spurs did that as well, if you're old enough to remember that. Shout the OGs out there. Obviously, moving away from that, another crazy game. Watford 3, Aston Villa 2. You know, Aston Villa started slowly and they were made to pay for it, really and truly. You know, lovely moment from Watford's Chucho Hernandez to score as well. Ismail Assar was involved as well. John McGinn, what a good goal that was. Shout out to the yardman Leon Bailey for the assist, but that was a good goal. It's in vain. Ings obviously scored on his debut. It's 3 points for Watford on the opening day, which is good for any promoted side or any side in general like Arsenal, you know. 2 of the 3 promoted sides were able to get points. I think Villa struggled tactically. I think Buendia struggled in his role. I think Ming struggled all day. Target got stressed the fuck out, pardon my language, by Ismail Assar. You know, Martinez looked shaky and he's always moaning with his teammates. His teammates were moaning at him. You know, the midfield wasn't really there from Villa. They needed to just wake the hell up. You know, I can't lie. You can kind of see why they want Ward-Prowse, in my humble opinion. Like, they really struggled. I just feel Norwich and Watford, apologies, wanted it a lot more as well, if I'm completely honest with you. So yeah, man, you know, bit of a dramatic end to the game, but you know, 5-goal thriller. Watford 3, Aston Villa 2. Everton won 3-1. Now, I would like to say an apology first things first to Damari Gray and Townsend, because I still think they're going to be flops of the season, but they started off very well. Everton looked very good. Richarlison, good finish. Doucouré's taking the mickey with that finish. Why do I keep saying random people? I'm looking at a Wan-Bissaka picture right now because I was going to speak something about him, but that's for a vid. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he scored a header and he did what he needed to do for my FPL. Commiserations to Adam Armstrong, just signed for Southampton from Blackburn. Like Tony, a lot of people are asking, can you do it in the league, in the biggest league? Scored, but to no avail. It don't really mean much. Michael Keane, what is he doing on the ball for that goal anyways? Again, that is what you call getting caught lacking. I don't know what you're doing on the first game of the Premier League season. It doesn't make sense, really and truly, does it? I don't think Holgate was that good either at times. Keane was atrocious at times. But ultimately, they did it, they did enough. Like I said, Damari Gray and Townsend looked very good, and I thought they would be shaky. Obviously, that whole front four, and the midfield for Everton, they look good. For Southampton, Livramento had some good touches. Salisu was very poor for one of the goals they conceded, but they have to move, innit? I think Southampton could be in trouble if Shea Adams and Armstrong and Borgia and all these guys are not able to put the ball in the back of the net and all of those things. I genuinely think Southampton are in serious trouble because you need a striker. Same way Arsenal, we were ninth for goals. Goals win games. We were ninth for goals and output last season. How many, if our strikers or Arteta was breeding creativity, how many 3 points could we have scumbagged? It is what it is. How many points did Bruno Fernandes win for United? It's a bit of it's a mad one, really and truly. It really is a mad one. So we'll have to genuinely see what is going on in that regards, man. We'll have to see. But yeah, man. It's a bit of a mad thing, sad one. Where's my articles gone, people? I was reading stuff out to you and sadly it's gone. Like I said, I think as I said at the start, Southampton, Palace, Watford, Norwich and Brentford. Again, I think one of the promoted sides will escape from that. I hope it's Brentford. But yeah, there's serious issues. I wouldn't mind Watford. There are London Coley neighbours and whatnot. But yeah, a quick recap if you need one, people. As I said, Brentford 2, Arsenal 0, Manchester United 5, Leeds United 1, Leicester City 1, Wolves 0, Chelsea 3, Palace 0, Watford 3, Aston Villa 2, Everton 3, Southampton 1. I forgot to speak about it, but Burnley versus Brighton 2, Burnley 1. Now, Burnley set pieces, they look a problem, but they weren't able to hold on to their lead, innit? Brighton were able to turn it around and walk away with it. Mupé, who was a bit of a criminal, a villain in the first half, was able to make amends, super subs and all of those sort of things for Brighton and Graham Potter's men making the difference. Obviously, Tarkowski's goal stood. I don't think that's a foul anyway. If I can remember correctly, it should have stood. I think there was another goal that was disallowed, however, or it could have been. But yeah, as Arsenal fans, I hope you're looking at Burnley from set pieces, and I hope you're taking what you can from Brighton, because these are games that are coming up shortly after the international break, not before too long. I know there's got a couple other fixtures, but you get the point. But yeah, as I was saying, Burnley 1, Brighton 2, Liverpool 3, Norwich 0, Newcastle 2, West Ham 4, Spurs 1, Manchester City 0. So in relation to the games to come at the weekend, we'll discuss them in a piece, people. Well, I say a piece, I mean Friday. So it is what it is in that regards. From a transfer point of view, there doesn't seem to be much to talk about apart from the fact of, the latest rumours, Cristiano Ronaldo to PSG if Mbappe leaves, or they're saying back to Real Madrid. Allegedly Antonio Conte wants him, people, but certain people are saying it's impossible for Real Madrid to return for him. People are saying it's impossible for PSG. Who knows, man? Hopefully there is one big move left, people. Some reports also say, PSG plan to sign Ronaldo and Paul Pogba on free transfers in 2022 when both players end their contracts with their respective clubs, which obviously that's going to be a lot of money. And I think Pogba's going to stay at United. I actually thought he's going to leave at a point. I think he's going to sign a new deal, rendering that one a myth. I'm going to speak about it in a live stream. Big up my 11:30 Arsenal gang. Make sure you're keeping a mental note of that. Allegedly, Arsenal's Premier League opener against Brentford was hours away from being cancelled, people, due to COVID COVID and everyone forcing to take tests and whatnot, which will have, like I said, I'll speak about that in the live stream later. But yeah, one love to everyone who's been part of the podcast gang. One love to the podcast crew. Please make sure you're following on Spotify/Apple so you're up to date. As I say, Tuesdays and Fridays, that's your DG podcast day. One love to the YouTube gang. Make sure you're commenting, you're liking, you're subscribing and all of those sort of things. Make sure you're subscribed on Twitch or you're following on Twitch, Deluded Gooner. You've got to give me a follow on the socials. Make sure you're following Instagram. Let's get that to 10k. Most importantly, people, with it being Tuesday, it's the start to the week, more or less. Please make sure you accomplish your weekly goals and targets and aspirations and the rest of it. Obviously, I'm wishing you all good health. And yeah, man, hopefully on Friday we can all look back with a week of enjoyment, fulfillment, abundance, and we're setting goals. And hopefully Arsenal, we can be a bit more positive about my club. But in relation to this podcast, we've primarily focused on the Premier League. It's been a fantastic 30 odd minutes. One love to you lot. God bless you all. People, DG, I'm out.